Morning.
All right, let's get straight into training, shall we?
Sounds good.
All right, let's get our bodies moving. We'll do some Taiji form today, I think. Um, okay, let's start with the spine. Opening it up, pushing your bum out, and closing it up, just like we have done every morning. In breath and out breath. Have a good bend in your knees. So that'll help to bring some heat into the body. Relax back to neutral. Hinge forward from the hips. Stretching through your hamstrings a little bit. Relax your spine. Let it hang. Engage your spine. Straighten it up and flex your palms out, squeezing your shoulder blades together. Relax everything down. Straighten your spine. Lift your palms up like a Y. Relax. Then lift them up straight in front of you as you straighten your spine. And relax. And roll up. Breathing in. Breathing out. Open, close. Link your fingers, breathe in. Push out, breathe out. Round your body. Pushing into the stretch. Release your fingers. Lean a little forward, lift your palms up, straight spine, breathing in. Breathe out. Breathe in, stand up. And push your palms back down like they're sliding on the wall behind you. And relax. Another one of those. In breath. Out breath. In breath. Out breath. In breath, stand up. Out breath. Take a small lunge, nothing too extreme, just sink onto it, sink your weight down, just to what's comfortable for you. Wriggle your body around a little bit, flexing and straightening those muscles, getting them warmed up, stretching into that rear leg through the hip flexors, pointing and relaxing that rear foot, so sink onto the heel to stretch back on the ankle and push it forward to stretch back the forward part of the ankle. Open and close your hips. Get all these joints woken up for the morning. Switch legs. Same thing, reverse side. Think about that rear ankle moving around. Think about the hips rotating, stretching the muscles, opening the joints. Just generally moving around to whichever sort of positions you feel need a bit of stretching and waking up on this cold, dark morning. Okay, take one elbow. Let's take our left elbow to our right knee, or as close as you can manage. Keep your spine nice and straight. Don't lean hunching forward, so keep your spine strong. Tilt it down, touch it, bring it back up, tilt it down, touch it, engaging your glute muscles. Okay, this time, instead of just going touch, touch, we're going to bring in a little bit of a Bagua movement. Yep, it's still just us three. No, wait, that's three people plus me. Who is that that's joined us? Ah, Christine. Ah, she loves Bagua too. All right. Don't worry, I'll keep doing the Bagua then. Okay, so we're just going to do one of the classical Bagua movements as a warm-up, as a stretch. It's a fantastic one to give people because it's quite simple, really moves the body, gives them a little bit of an introduction into Bagua without them having to learn the whole form. So I quite often use Bagua movements to capture people's attention, just using them as warm-ups. So you're going to turn your feet very slightly in, just a little bit inward, like so. And you're going to do a similar sort of a thing by where you're going to take your opposite elbow towards the knee. But as you do that, you're going to scoop this hand around like this. Okay? So instead of just swinging it out to the back like we've done in the past, you're going to do this kind of action. Just that. Very simple. Look. Just scoop your hand in. So you're going to scoop the hand in as you take the elbow down to the knee. And then when you stand up, you're going to lift the palms up, like sort of towards the other knee, sort of over the top of the other knee. See how I've turned my body a little bit. And I'm holding my palms like I'm holding a baby, okay? Like so. There's the baby's bum, there's the baby's head, okay? So, we take it across. Scoop that right hand around to the rear as I take the elbow down to the knee. Standing up, turning towards the other leg, keeping the weight in my right leg, but then I keep twisting, leaning backwards a little bit as well. Keep twisting as far as you can, locking your feet in place. When you can't twist any longer, release your left foot and drop into this position here. So by releasing that foot, of course, that allows your body to twist a little bit more, and you drop that position down like so. That is in the form, of course, that's where we would start walking around the circle. We're not going to do that just yet. So, twisting and scooping it down. We're doing a bit of an exaggerated version of this movement, of course. You don't usually go that low in the classical Bagua form posture, but as a warm-up, it's a really nice way to do it. And release that foot. Then from here, we're just going to reset, you see. Put your other hand on top, so I'm putting my left hand on top now. And I'm going to scoop that left hand around as my right elbow goes down to my left knee, lift up towards the right, sinking back into my rear leg, holding the baby, twisting, lifting, leaning backwards. When I can't twist any longer, everything straightens up, you see? See how I'm going, whoa. I'm actually leaning back, creating a strong core. When I can't twist any longer, the spine straightens up, you see? I come into position and I straighten up into that position there with the 2 dragon palms, like so. Number 3, fire palms, like that. Okay, repeat. Sink it down. Bring it around. And release. Such a nice full body twisting action. Back to the start again. Right hand on top. Notice that I'm making the whole thing a flowing action now. Sorry, left hand on top. Twist down and throw it up, leaning backwards. Reset. Right hand on top. So again, we're not just going stop, reset. Make it a circular movement. You see? Reset, left hand on top. Again. See, the body's twisting around. Really make sure when you're doing any twisting actions in your body, any extreme movements like this, really focus on your knees. Because it's very, very common to come into a movement like this, twisting, 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 and particularly at the end, twist. See what I've done with my knee? It's buckling inwards, okay? So make sure that you only twist to as far as your hip can open. Of course, the rest of the body can twist further. You twist through your spine. But your pelvis, your lower center, should only open as far as your hip joint can move it. I should not turn it any further by twisting the knee. Knee in line with toe at all times. Okay? Assuming your weight is on that knee. Of course, if my weight is over here, well, it's actually still in alignment, but it's in a different line. I won't talk too much about that just yet, but it's usually the problem of the weighted leg, like so, when I'm twisting into something. So we're going to twist from the lower center, only to that point, keeping the knee in line with the toe, but then the rest of the centers, you see, the spine through the vertebra, keep twisting. So I can get much further. When my lower center can only get to here, I can keep going, keep going, keep going. And notice it's not just my arms going out to the side, it's the whole, you should feel your spine going like this. Let's try it again. Okay, so with some flow now, scoop that hand around, drop down into that leg, and then throw your body back the other way. So it's an exaggerated version of the lone goose breaks from the flock, or other books call it the flock of the wild geese bursting out. We're bending the knees down, of course, as we're leaning down, hinging down into that position. When we come up, however, the spine pushes all the way up. In fact, it even leans backwards. The knees, however, only come back up to a natural bend position. Don't straighten the knees back up. Keep them down, okay? So yeah, you go from sort of, let's say roughly, kind of knee in line with toe-ish, vertical line, that kind of amount of bend. And you're going to go, of course, more bend to sink down. But when you come back up, you see, you just come back up to there. Don't come all the way back up. So, twist, spiral, bring it back. So when you bring it back, just to keep the flow happening, the hand which is extended is going to come back on the top of the movement. So that way, you're ready to come in for the other side. Just turn that foot back in and so with this, even though we are exaggerating it, we're not actually breaking any rules with this one. In case you've been in some of the other classes where I've said you can exaggerate a posture so much for the cause of stretching, which is fine, where you actually break the rule of the posture, as in you break the connectivity between the hand and the center by pushing the hands so far out to stretch and open up a joint. That's okay if your goal is to open up the joints. Nothing wrong with that at all. In the case of this one, though, the way the movement happens, even if you do sink so much lower like that, you're still adhering to the postures, the principles of the posture. So the normal posture, of course, would just be done something more like that. That would be the classical way of doing it. So the only real difference is, it's just there. Okay, that's how you're grabbing the wrist, you're striking him with your shoulder. But that's about as low as you would go in the classical form. So all we're doing is making that twisting arm a little bit bigger, but not so much that you're losing your center. It's still turning with the body, and I'm just sinking down a little bit lower. And then when I come back up, well, the end movement is already a very extreme twisting stretch, even in the classical form. So no need to change anything for the sake of a warm-up. Again, try it a little bit quicker if you like, but be careful, listen to your own body. Stretch your palms out. Bagua stretch on the end of the movement. Bring it back to center. Oh, I'm in the mood for some Bagua now. Since it's you guys, I think everyone here is actually, I don't get to practice Bagua that often, unless I just do it, I make time to do it myself, but I do Taiji so much more because most of my students are practicing the Taiji form more so than the Bagua form. But I know you three do the Bagua form, so I always tend to tailor the class to the people who join live. So, since there's some Bagua-y people in the class today, let's try and go through the Bagua form. What'll we do? I think what we'll do is, instead of trying to go through the entire form, since I know some of you are kind of, just learning the form, in fact, I think most of you don't actually know the whole form, what we're going to do is we're going to go through, to start with, just the first palm change. Let's just do the first palm change of the Bagua form. That way we'll get into a sort of a repetitive sequence, and I'll call out a few important things. But again, I'm not teaching the form from scratch. For those of you following on YouTube, this is not me teaching the form from scratch. My students already know these postures. But if you know the form or know something similar, you should be able to follow along with the class. So we start, okay, obviously we're on the circle. I don't have a circle in here yet, just moved into the new house. Okay, sinking down. Scoop the hands, open the center. We'll do it nice and slowly first. Release the foot, release the hands into leaning on the horse. Pick your foot up, push out of the circle. Now we're going to do exactly the move we just did. Hook the foot in, scoop the hand down. Just don't go quite so low this time. It's still the same dynamic movement though. Breathing in, leaning backwards, and slip that foot forward and walk around your circle. Back to your start point, or back to the point where you've got the most space in the room. Open everything up here. Your body turns slightly to your right, so your hands are starting to split apart from each other, like you're reaching forward with that left hand. You see that forward hand from that position as you bring the weight forward, ready to step. Reach forward, the right hand is dropping and drawing in. It's going a little bit yang, the left hand is going a little bit yin. Step in, hook that foot around, and whoom, strike your own forearm as you sink your weight onto your right leg. Hinge action with that right arm, just like in the small sansao, if you've been practicing that form. But the top hand is different than the small sansao. It's not up like this. It's yin, it's hooking, it's pulling something, it's grabbing and pulling something, and you're hitting it with your right hinge arm. You're not doing a block like in the small sansao. So it's like this. Then do a little scoop back with the right hand. Just kind of dig the right hand back, turning to the right, and then strike low with that right palm, twisting all the way up, fingers pointing down. You'll feel this stretching coming over the top of the forearm through here. And the other hand is kind of doing a similar thing. It's rotating. No, it's not. It's doing the opposite thing. One is rotating this way, external rotation. The other is doing internal rotation this way, you see. But both are twisted and spiraled out, like so. So we hit the arm there and strike. Your posturing is just like anything else. Pelvis tucked under, head and spine nice and upright and straight. From this position, we go again into the flower hides underleaf and the flock of wild geese. So from here, there's a little turn to the right to load that right arm in. Then again, you press out of the circle with a bit of forward intent on this one from the right hand. Hook that foot around, and here's the same posture again. Dig that left palm as you sink down, lifting it up. And relax as your foot relaxes on the end of the posture. Slip that foot forward and move. Back to your starting point. Same thing again. Stretch. Open it up. A little opening of the center. The hands start splitting. The left hand drops down and away. Grabbing, reaching out to something with that front hand. Breathing in. Step in and striking. Of course, the right hand is pulling something in, but it's more dominantly the left arm attacking in. You see, it's not like you're hitting your arm like this. It's a bit of both, really. It's like clapping. Both hands are kind of coming together. But what I'm saying is don't just leave this hand dangling and hit it with this hand. Bring the hands together. Again, as soon as you've done that, scoop that hand around back to the opposite direction. So you come in this way, bring it back the other way, and there's that twisting expression again. So you've reversed it now. Your hands are reversed. The other hand is twisting externally. The right hand is twisting internally. Relax the arms, relax the waist. A little bit to the open side. And then again, like you're kind of catching a punch. So you're kind of catching and taking it over your shoulder. And striking forward, forward and out. With that movement as you turn your foot. Turn that right foot out. Okay, you actually pick it up and put it back down at an outward rotation. So we get open and twist it in. You bring your weight forward and then again, hook that foot in, flower hides under leaf, scoop it down, feel that glute engaging and bring it back. Twisting and releasing. Now let's do both of those again, rather than going into the second palm change. Here we go again. I love doing Bagua. I love teaching Bagua. The only problem with Bagua from a live, from a video class point of view, as opposed to a in-person class point of view, if you're in person, you would be on the circle with me. Instead of like in Taiji where you'd stand behind me and follow me through the form, because in Taiji you only face to three directions. You face to the front, you turn this way and that way. You never face behind. Or you do a tiny bit in the second and third thirds, but in the first third you never face backwards. So it's very rare that you ever have to face backwards. So the students can always see what you're doing. Whereas Bagua, you're following along with the video, we're going this way, this way, this way, and then we've done a full 360, you see. You've done everything's turning all different directions. So following, trying to sort of look at the camera and say, okay, what's he doing now? I'm going this way, what, that way, and it's very difficult. That's why I say it's fine, I think, if you guys already know the form. You know where to be turning, you know where to be facing. So you can still sort of pick up on the energy of it as we're going through, and every now and again you'll see me there on the screen. You'll see some of the movements. You won't see all the movements, of course, because you physically can't keep me in frame. You can't keep my movement on, you can't keep your eyes on my movement because there's so much change in Bagua. There's so much directional changes happening. And that is what makes it difficult. That's really the only thing that makes it more difficult to learn, to teach, than Taiji. The movements are not any more complicated. They look more complicated, but when you really break it down from scratch, they're not any more complicated. From my experience, when I've been teaching people, they pick up the Bagua moves just as easily, on average, as the Taiji movements. Visually, they look, first time I show people, they're like, oh, that looks really complicated, I can't do that. 5 minutes later, they're doing it. But yeah, this one aspect is a tricky one. How to make it flow along, be able to flow along with me with a screen. I need to get a little camera that follows me around the circle. See, normally you'd be there, you see, you'd be following me, you'd be chasing me, and I'd be chasing this guy. You'd have 4 people on a circle. And you'd all, that way. There will still be times you can't see each other, but at least you still get that feeling of flowing through the form. Most of the time, you can still see your teacher. So yeah, even in person, it's still a little bit more difficult to get that follow-along vibe comparatively to the Taiji form. But what you can do is like how we started, just repeating a movement over and over. That way you can sort of face a more two-dimensional style and get that happening like so. All right, we'll just do it. I won't talk much about it, just for those of you who know it. Let's try the second palm change. Let's just do it. We'll go fairly slowly back to our starting point. Let's try the second palm change. Walk the circle, and same thing on the reverse side, of course. Making a few adjustments to my footwork here, just in case you're wondering, because I am in a fairly tight space. And then just bring your left foot up to your right foot and close in. So yeah, I don't know if Bagua will become a main theme of these classes. Maybe I could select one of the classes per week to be Bagua, since I'm doing, 11 classes per week. I guess I could make one of them specifically for Bagua. Maybe I'll write to everyone, actually. I'll do that later today. I'll write to everyone following and see if anyone would like to do one of these morning sessions specifically on Bagua. And if there's a lot of feedback, like, yeah, that's, we'd really like to do that. Yeah, I could start dedicating one of these classes to Bagua. But at the moment, yeah, as far as I'm aware, most of the people following the classes are Taiji people. So yeah, the dominant classes will be Taiji based. Okay, let's now go through the Taiji form and see if you feel anything a little bit different happening. We're just going to flow through the first third as usual, but with that, I don't know, with that intent from the stretch coming out of it. I've often had people say to me, your Taiji, it's got this slightly different flavor than most people's Taiji. What is that? I'm like, oh, it's probably because I do Bagua as well. So naturally, a little bit of that Bagua shows up in my Taiji, and vice versa. You'll see some of the Taiji energy sometimes crossing over into the Bagua. I've always believed that both kind of do entail each other's energy anyway, but it would be pretty hard to find that twisting, spiraling Bagua energy in your Taiji if you hadn't already done the Bagua. So they really help each other out, at least at the beginning. Maybe if you only practice Taiji, for 50 years, maybe you would find that energy purely within your Bagua, Taiji, and vice versa. But yeah. All right, let's go through Yang Luchan form. Let's do it left side. So, as we go through, I want you to think Think large thoughts, so slightly bigger than usual movements. Really like accentuate stretches, reach out into steps, stretch your arms out into movements. Just open everything up a little bit more than you might usually. We'll keep the speed just to a moderate, maybe a tiny bit faster than slow. I typically don't like to do the form quickly, this particular form, because most people at this stage just get lost and they can't follow the form quickly. So we'll still keep it relatively slow, but not super slow. So just pay attention, keep your eye on me, and let's have a look. So center your bodies down. In breath. Out breath. Oh, we're going to do left side, that's right. Sorry, almost went into the right side there. In breath. Out breath. In breath. Out breath. Okay, I'm going to give you a small training method to work with today. To try to balance out your left and right sides, because most people have been taught the form one-sided. Maybe the teacher said, you know, you should practice it on the other side, but it was never, you know, wasn't said enough, and so people just kept doing it one-sided. In which case you try to do it the other side after 10 years of practice, or even a couple of years of practice. You try to do it the other side and it feels really awkward. Okay? So the best way to learn your Taiji form is just like how you do Bagua, doing each section left and right. I'm not saying that's how you should practice your Taiji form. You practice the whole form, one side, then the next day you practice the other side. You can do it on the one day, of course, but it's going to take up a large space of your morning, so most people don't have time for that, unfortunately, in this modern world that we live in. So anyway, yeah, you can simply alternate days with your left and right sides. The Bagua form is a lot shorter than the Taiji form, so you can do everything both sides in one session. Anyway, when you're learning it, I'm talking about you're in class, you're learning 3 or 4 movements with your teacher. You learn those few movements, la-di-da. Okay, yeah, what was that again? Da-da-da-da-da, go through those. All right, now let's do it the other side. Literally, just 2 or 3 renditions through the set of movements and then do it on the other side. That way, your body doesn't know the movements yet, so it's got nothing to feel weird about on the other side. The reason it feels weird to do it on the other side is because it's like becoming a beginner again. You're used to the Taiji form feeling really, yeah, it feels so connected and powerful. It feels good. You're used to that good feeling. You go on the other side and you lose that good feeling. So you think, oh wow, it's so hard on the left side. It's not any harder. You've got to think back to your first Taiji class. How did that set of movements feel, even on the right side? How did that first set of classes feel when you first did it, those first set of movements? They probably also felt really awkward and uncoordinated, and where have I got to put my hand, where have I got to put my foot, that kind of thing. So you're simply going back to basics. Now, the Taiji form, a lot of the postures are done both sides. So let's take brush knee twist step, for example. In the first third, it's done 4 times one side, but only once on the other side. That's the way the sequence works out. It does balance out a bit more once you do the whole form, but let's say you're only doing the first third, which most people are only doing. You're getting the coordination of doing it both sides, but the physical movement, the physical development of your body, you're doing it a lot more one side than the other. So your body's going to be unbalanced. So this is why you must do the form both sides, particularly if you don't know the whole form. But even once you know the whole form, you should do the whole thing both sides, alternating days. So it's the postures. If you do brush knee twist step, when you do it left side, it won't be difficult because you've already done it, at least to some degree, on the other side. It's the postures which aren't done at all on the other side which will feel the most awkward. So what we're going to do is this. Just stand naturally with one foot forward, like so. Okay, we're going to do the posture of squeeze, this one here. So roll back, this one. But what we're going to do is we're going to alternate the side, left, right, back and forth, okay? So you can learn from your good side to help give that sensation into your dodgy side. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold double pung, do roll back, center, turn your foot out, step forward, place into double pung again, other side. If you're in a small room, instead of stepping forward the second time, you can step backwards the second time. So that way you're not ending up in front of the wall. Just to switch your feet, it's just resetting. There's nothing important about that section. Again, roll it around, roll back, connect the palms, squeeze. Adjust your feet, reset your hands. Go again. Try and pay attention to what feels awkward on your left side. So what felt awkward about that side? Think, it felt, I don't know, it felt like maybe my strike was coming more from the side rather than through the center, or I lifted up too soon, or try to feel. Obviously everyone's going to be different, so I can't tell you what the thing is that you'll be feeling that's weird. But just try to think, what felt weird? What felt odd compared to my right side? And then do it on your right side and think, okay, how did I make that feeling not happen on this side? Then you switch back to the other side again. Maybe you can learn from that other side. One that I remember specifically for myself when doing this exercise, so I'll just share this one example with you, and then maybe it'll help you to find little areas that maybe you're doing the same thing or something similar. So one thing that I found was when I was doing it my left side, the transition, not the transition, but the projection forward into the posture, into the final posture, I felt my body coming back, and it felt awkward, and I was like, okay, what's awkward about it though? Why doesn't it? So I'd go back, I'd do the other side. What's different? That's why it's so good to do things, and do this with any posture. Whichever posture feels awkward for you, when you do it your left side, analyze, go back and forth. Why does that feel good? But okay, so what am I doing differently? Figure out what it is you're doing differently. So back to this example, I worked it out that on my left side, I was doing roll back, and for some reason, my hands were kind of, I'll just exaggerate, this is very, very subtle, but I'll exaggerate so you can see. My hands were kind of coming in, see that? Almost this way into the movement, rather than, then I went back to my right side and I went, okay, what's happening here? Okay, right, look, where's the circle? The circle's going this way. It's more of a vertical forward circle, not an around circle this way. So once I made that connection in my body, okay, that's my right side just does that automatically, instinctively. It rolls up through the center. Keep in mind when I say that vertical circle, just to note, it's very subtle like so. Don't bring it in like this. Don't bend your elbows in. So once I made that connection, I went, okay, back to my left side. Okay, there, yeah. Keep it tight. Keep it in here. Don't let it waft out to the sides. And as soon as I did that, I went, oh yeah, okay. Much nicer, and instantly it felt better for me to do the posture. So let's carry on, a couple more rounds of that. See if you can figure out which areas are feeling awkward and why. Timing of connecting the hands can be another one. When am I, oh, I'm connecting the hand there, okay. And this, whereas on this side, oh, wait a minute, the hands aren't even connected yet. Why? I'm halfway through the posture, I've forgotten to connect my hands. Something like that, for example. So yeah, really analyze what it is you're doing on your right side, your dominant side, and learn from that. Teach your left side what it is it needs to be doing from a timing point of view. Now there is the other element that no matter how precise you do the movement, it can still feel a little bit awkward simply because if you've been doing these movements for X amount of years, your body's, your muscles and joints have kind of settled into the posture. You can't just make that happen on the other side overnight. Because even though it's not an extreme stretch in any way, this movement, but there is still that element of the joints just melding into each other. So it will still take time for it to feel as good as the other side. And that's just a matter of practicing that left side more often than you practice your right side. When I do my own practice, I more commonly practice my left side because throughout the years I have done the same thing, and in the past I've done more right side, especially when teaching it in the past. Whereas nowadays I've really realized that mistake and I've said, okay, no, in all my classes, let's do it left and right, left and right. And everyone's showing so many more benefits from doing the form like that. Okay, again, okay, another way of doing that. Forget about the legs. I'll come in a bit closer for this one. We're just going to do the hands, but not the full posture. We're just going to do this movement. Because this posture here, this was one that I always found to be one of the more awkward movements to get on the left side. It was like, why won't it, when I do it this side, it's like like a perfect sandwich. Like they just click in, they just fit in together. Then I'd do the other side and it'd be like, I mean, what's different? I'm technically putting my hands, sorry if I'm looking down there, there's my screen. I'm not used to using my other camera yet. I should be looking up here, shouldn't I? Not looking at myself in my screen down there. So, yeah, I'd be standing there thinking, well, that's in line with that, that's in line with that. Yeah, that's, okay, that's all the same. Even once everything was mathematically the same, it still didn't quite feel like they gelled together quite as much. So here's a little tip for that one. Just stand here, just whatever foot forward, doesn't matter. Do chi. And then literally just pull this hand, the front hand, pull it around and do chi on the other side. Look. Pull it around. Pull it around. Or actually, an even better way of doing it. Oh, that's nice. I haven't done that before. The last time I did it, I just did it very simply like that, just staying on the front leg. But you can just, instead of having to stop and switch your legs, just stand with your feet relaxed. I'll come back to full frame. Stand with your feet relaxed. Again, not the full posture, not the full proper stance, just enough so that you've got the same hand and foot forward. So you're here rather than here, because that's going to make it feel awkward anyway. So we're there like so. I'm going to pull that front hand up, like sort of over the top of the fingers, load it, and just shift your weight to your other leg. Look. Up, shift your weight to your other leg. See, I'm just adjusting my toes a little bit. So we're doing a different movement now. We're just going across. We're not getting that scooping up. We're not lifting from the ground. We're losing a lot of the posture. We're focusing in on just this, the connection, the melding in of the two hands. Trying to feel what's different. Why does this feel comfortable? And why does the left side feel a bit awkward, like trying to put a square peg in a round hole kind of thing? What's the time, darling? 7. It's 7? Ah. See, I did set an alarm, but obviously once the phone starts recording, the alarm doesn't go off. I've got to get a clock for this room now that I'm using my phone as my camera. So yeah, that's a nice little exercise. And essentially you can do that with any postures. Just go through your form and think, okay, which ones felt the most awkward for you? So usually the first few movements feel okay. Pung feels okay because it's not that different than double pung. Double pung can sometimes feel a bit weird for people, so that's a good one. In fact, this whole section, because grasping swallow's tail is very much only done on one side when you do one side of the form. So yeah, just go through the form and think which ones feel the most awkward. You could do double pung like that, you see, double pung. Okay, because again, even though they're not physically touching, there is still this connectivity between the hands when you do double pung. So, and then try it the other side. Okay, what was different? Why did that? Okay. And you might figure, oh, okay, maybe my elbow's a bit more dropped on that side when I'm coming through here. Oh yeah, look, my elbow's a bit more up. And, whatever the thing is that you realize, but just doing it back and forth like that, hopefully you'll realize things that are happening. Bonjour Christine.
Bonjour, Eli. Thanks
Did you-
for Bagua.
Ah, you're welcome. I know you love the Bagua.
I was lost, but nothing.
All right. Yeah, so I'll do that actually. Today I'll send out an email to the list of people who are following these live classes. And I'll put it out in the newsletter as well, because maybe some people are not following the classes because they only do Bagua or something. And like I'm doing with the small Sansao and the Yang Luchan's form, I could have one dedicated class to just doing the Bagua form. Yeah, so I'll have a think about when and where, and if anyone's interested in doing that. I think it'll have to be a morning class because I've got the 3 evening classes, but those are already specific things. That even the Wednesday evening, okay, that's not really a specific class, but that was the class I was already running throughout the last year, and everyone, like a lot of people, are following that particular class with what it's being done. But yeah, if I can pick a morning that suits everyone, and we could start from just doing it from scratch, learning the Bagua movements, but in this sort of follow along live format. So I'll see what feedback I get, and but if not, then I'll still random classes like this. If I go, oh look, I think everyone in this class likes Bagua, and we'll just chuck in a bit of Bagua on that particular day. Yeah. All right, guys, I got a busy day ahead of me, so I'm going to get on with it, and I shall see you. What have we got? So tonight, 8 p.m. UK time, is the Yang Luchan form instructional class, if anyone's up for that. If not, then I'll see you one of the classes later in the week. Enjoy your day. Bye.
Bye.